and happy Easter. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Princeton. We extend a special welcome to our visitors who are here this morning. We're very glad that you've attended, and we'd love to get to know more about you after the service. If you haven't already, please stop by the newcomer table so that we can add you to our e-list, and be sure to invite you to the many different programs and events that we have happening here at UU Princeton. And one of the next ones is, ideally for newcomers, it's a meet and greet gathering next Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. at a members' home in Princeton. You can learn more about that by stopping by the welcome table after the worship today. We also hope that you'll join us next week after worship for a fellowship potluck brunch. It'll be in the Founders Room, and it's a great way to have a delicious meal and to make new friends. Your contributions for the brunch will go toward the sound panel project in the Founders Room to hopefully make that space more conducive for conversation in large crowds. All are welcome, and you can visit the Sign Up Genius page on our website if you'd like to bring a dish or help make that happen. Also next week after the service, Reverend Carol Haig and Meg Cox will be leading an informational session downstairs about voter engagement in the democratic process with an organization called Changing the Conversation Together. This process features one-to-one values-oriented conversations with voters, and you can plan on sticking around after worship next week and learning more about that. And lastly, you'll see in your announcements in the back of your order of service that the Intergenerational Seder is this Friday, April 10th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. in the Founders Room. Everyone of all ages is welcome at our Seder, and you can find sign-up details in this announcement as well. We do need people to sign up for that Seder, so if you're going to attend, please visit the website and sign on up. And now we're so fortunate to have a stewardship moment with Beth Barron and Robert Eaton.
Happy Easter! Happy Easter! Growing up in Wisconsin, I remember Easter as a celebration of community gratitude and renewed hope. After a long, dark winter, much like New Jersey this year, we packed the pews of our little church, dressed in our Easter finest, and sang out joyful hallelujahs, just like we did today. Of course, for us kids, some of this gratitude may have related to the sweet contents of our Easter baskets. Gratitude is a big part of why Robert and I are up here today. Our view of stewardship is informed by two things: gratitude for a faith community that has nurtured our family.
So we discovered UUCP when our daughter Anna was 6, Johnny was 4, and Peter was nearly 2. We visited one Sunday and witnessed several teens confidently delivering their credos from this very pulpit. And we were searching for a values-based intergenerational faith community, and those thoughtful, self-aware young people really sealed the deal for us. We wanted that for our kids, and we found so much more.
I learned about UU alongside my children, leading classes from Bible superheroes to coming of age. Topics like empathy, conscience, and deep listening spilled over to our dinner table conversations. Together, we experienced children's chorale, hanging of the green skits, seders with leaping frogs, dancing around the maypole, restocking the food pantry, and countless hours of family worship, forging relationships across generations and surrounding our family with love.
I'll never forget, where am I? I would never forget performing in UUCP's production of Aladdin. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Here in Foz with Anna, Johnny, and Peter, and several of you back in 2013. I taught Crossing Paths 3 times, once for each of our kids, exposing them to other faith traditions. And we visited the Jewish Center, the Islamic Society, the Baptist Hindu Temple, the First Baptist Church, the Sikh Gurdwara, the St. Paul's Catholic Church, and the Buddhist Temple. And watching 6th and 7th graders walk into an unfamiliar house of worship, sit respectfully, ask real questions, and come away with a genuine understanding, that was UUCP at its best. Our kids have grown now and have delivered their own credos from this very pulpit, but I'm teaching Crossing Paths again, this time for other families' children. You keep showing up and receiving so much more in return.
So much more. We've been loved and supported through serious illness and grief. We've grown and learned through chalice circles, shared worship, and the racial justice, rainbow, and other ministries. I've served on the board, Robert on the finance committee.
And as a member of the Finance Committee, and at the risk of talking about money on Easter, I often think about the basic math of what it actually costs to run this wonderful UUCP. Salaries and benefits for our amazing ministers and staff, utilities and maintenance for our beloved congregational home here, and grounds, renovations, and all the ministries that make this place what it is. And that all costs about $815,000 a year. And of that, our goal is to bring $630,000. That needs to come in through pledges. If we assume collectively 210 pledges, that's on average about $3,000 per pledge. Now, some give more, some give less as they're able. Right now, we spend in aggregate slightly more than we take in, but together with our pledges, we can fix that.
We've shared our gratitude and financial facts, but Robert and I really want to leave you with a simple, important message today. Unlike the increasingly digitized and out-of-control world out there, our UUCP community is very real. Just take a look around. And it has huge impact and is completely within our control. Truly good, life-changing things are happening right here for each of us, for our children, and for those yet to discover this place. UUCP exists because of the people it gathers together. Our collective financial support makes this very real, beloved community happen. I'm not done. On this day of hope and renewal, whether you are a member or just happen to be here and loving it, please join us in pledging your financial support. Pick up a card outside the hall and fill it in. Pledge on the church website or email or call Susan in the church office. Let's keep our beacon shining strong for future generations. Thank you so much.
For I remember it is Easter morn, and life and love and peace are all newborn. Alice Freeman Palmer.
And let us join together in the unison affirmation printed in your order of service. Resurrections, not resurrection, of peace in warring places, of hope in despairing times, of love in hateful hearts, of life in death-filled days. Blessed are a people of resurrections.
Luke 15, 1 through 7. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. Which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my lost sheep." Just so, I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance.
Before we begin our wonder in wisdom, two things. One, who is excited for the egg hunt after service? Yay! So we are going to meet at the end of the hallway on the other side of the kitchen, like right out where we have our brunches. We're going to meet there at 12 o'clock. The second thing is, I am wondering if anyone has seen my friend Lillian. She came here with me this morning, and she's totally disappeared. Reverend Bill, you got to meet Lillian. Have you seen her? All right, could everyone just look around a little bit? She's small, she's super cuddly, she has gorgeous dark eyes. Has anyone seen Lillian? All right, she seems to still be missing. So why don't we begin with our wonder and wisdom? We invite forward our young and our young at heart. And if you want to take a look under a chair on your way, see if you can find her. No Lillian. All right. Everyone looks so lovely for Easter. May I invite one person to come open our wonder box this morning? Let's see. Marin, I saw your hand first. So we're going to let Marin open this morning, okay? What do we have here? Oh my goodness! It's Lillian! So this is our Lillian, the lamb. Lillian, you silly lost sheep. What are you doing in the wonder box? Bah! Oh, you wanted to make sure you told the story this morning. Bah, bah. All right, so I need you to whisper it to me, and I will tell it, because not everyone can speak bah, bah as well as I can. All right, so tell me a little bit, and you can tell me a little more later. Okay, I think I got that part. Okay, so you wanted me to remind everyone first, what is this special Sunday in the Christian calendar today? What is our holy day, our holiday we're celebrating? You can yell it out. Easter! Easter! And on Easter, we honor the life of a person who taught about love and fairness and kindness. His name was Jesus. And one of his teachings is called something called the parable of the lost sheep, like Lillian was lost this morning. And you can find, I know Lillian, and you can find that story in a book called the Bible that Wylencia, our ministerial intern, read our story a little bit earlier. It's about sheep. It's about a man, a shepherd, who took care of sheep, who owned a herd of them, so a herd, of 100 sheep. And then one of those sheep wanders away.
So there was 99 left.
So there was, thank you, that was my next question. There was 99 left. So the shepherd leaves the other 99 and goes to look for the one that had wandered off. He was worried. Could have been hurt, could have been eaten by a wolf or a fox. And it says when he finds that lost sheep, he is so super happy. Happier than about the 99 that didn't wander off. It was important for him to find the lost sheep and make sure that it wasn't hurt or scared. And for that lost sheep to know that they were loved and cared for and about like I love and cared for Lillian. This story about that lost sheep has been passed down and told over and over for almost 2,000 years. Bah! Oh, okay, what's next? And Lillian says the story was also passed down to her from generation to generation. Don't start, Bill now has starting me laughing. From generation to generation, sheep tell this story to their own little ones. And in the way that they tell it, the one sheep that Jesus talks about, that shepherd saving, the one that was lost, it didn't just wander away. Lillian told me it left because the big group, the herd, the other 99, were kind of not nice to that one sheep. The exact reason isn't certain. Maybe they didn't like that her tail was more fluffy than theirs, or maybe that his horns were too big, or maybe that one sheep had an idea or did something that the rest thought wasn't so great. We aren't sure. The reason isn't important. What is important is that the larger herd used this difference as an excuse to make one of their own in that herd feel really bad. So bad that they went away. How would you feel if you were that sheep? Very extremely sad. We Unitarian Universalists celebrate that every person is unique and special, and those differences are good. Even if sometimes we make mistakes. Every one of us is created in love, and that is the most important thing of all. And you know what? Over the years, that sheep wasn't the only one that wasn't treated so great because they were different. And every generation, and any herd of sheep, and sometimes in groups of people too, we forget. We forget that we are all created in love, and our fears about being different can get so big. We push people out. I wonder if we've noticed other people being treated unfairly. And I wonder if we have ever been told or felt that we were not welcome. One of the things that Jesus taught in the story about the lost sheep is this: when fear makes us forget and we push someone outside of the herd, Spirit of life, the great mystery that some people call God, whom Jesus called Father, says, remember, we are all created in love, and we all belong. Could we say that together? Remember, we are all created in love, and we all belong. Oh, Lillian says she has another thing. Wants us to know that it wasn't just the shepherd who made it possible that when the lost sheep came back, that there was a big party. When that one sheep went away, that other 99 found, to their surprise, they missed them. And they started to think they hadn't made the right choice by pushing that sheep away, and they felt bad. The herd realized together that it wasn't right to exclude that one sheep. And they began to feel deep in their little sheep hearts that every sheep should be treated with kindness. And when that lost sheep was found by the shepherd and returned, the other sheep told them that they were sorry. And they truly were sorry. And they promised not to do it again, not to that one sheep or to any other sheep. And from that point on, they did better. Lillian says we people could learn a lot from the sheep. Some people think sheep aren't that smart, but Lillian says that is not true at all. She thinks humans could learn a lesson or two from the sheep to do their very best to treat other people with kindness. And when a bad choice happens and they aren't kind, because we all make mistakes sometimes, to think about that really hard, about what was done, and apologize, and really be truly sorry when we apologize, and then do better. So we give some thanks to Lillian for sharing her side, the sheep side of the important story. Could we give Lillian a big bah back as a thank you? That was excellent. Lillian told me that made her heart feel better today. And with that, we invite you to return to your families for the rest of our worship service together.
Please join me in our responsive reading, the insert in your bulletin, adapted from Kathleen Rowland's Easter is Breaking. Somewhere across the world, Easter is breaking. Not the Easter we may think of, with arms upraised and he is risen echoing, but a much quieter Easter. Somewhere in the world, perhaps not this day, but someday soon, parents rise from their beds, shaking the sleep from their eyes, and find their children already awake and preparing for their morning prayers. And there is no gunfire, no wars, no yelling or shouting or screaming. Only the quiet of the night and the peace of silence around them. And somewhere in the world, perhaps not this morning, but soon, a soldier is packing their duffel bag, has emptied out all their bullets, is changing into civilian clothes. And is coming home, where peace has been established. And somewhere in the world, Easter dawn breaks over the earth. Not only in this day, but every day. And the familiar pulse of our veins beats of peace, peace, peace.
Good morning. When I was 12 years old, my family had two rabbits who were brown, and one was brown, one was white, and I'll call them Flopsy and Mopsy. They lived in a hutch in our backyard. As the oldest of 4 kids, it fell to me to take care of the rabbits, give them fresh water and food, and play with them. That meant that every time it rained or stormed, I worried about Flopsy and Mopsy. Inevitably, I would go out in the drenching rain in my pajamas in the middle of the night to put a tarp over their cage. That was a life lesson. Looking back, Flopsy and Mopsy were probably fine without my help, but it taught me to look out for the small and the helpless. For years, during a big thunderstorm, I would get a feeling of anxiety in the pit of my stomach, and I'd feel like I should be taking some action to protect those I loved. Anyone who has ever been a parent or owned a pet knows that feeling. Scythe and I spent many summer days parked on the edge of the shoreline or knee-deep in the ocean, watching our children and their friends or cousins frolic in the waves and counting heads. And when our kids were seriously ill, it was as if a black cloud were following us until they were better. I learned about what it meant to feel helpless and hurt myself when I was 10 years old, and the other 5th graders in my class bullied me. I was a tall, nerdy girl who always had my head in a book, and I became a target in the lunchroom and the playground. I would have been so grateful if any of those kids had reached out, but in the end, I found the strength myself the following year and gave it back to those kids as good as I got. That ended the bullying, but the experience made me a watchful and reserved child. I would arm myself with a book and sit on the sidelines if I could. It was no accident that I later became a reporter and a writer, someone who prefers to observe the story rather than to be part of it. Over the years, I learned to be more outgoing and sociable. I forced myself to speak in front of people, to offer my opinions, but I still always have my antenna up to detect slights against myself and others. I recently had a flashback when I arrived late to my water aerobics class. "You're in my spot," a woman told me with a frown. "You have to get out and go to the other pool." I didn't get out, but I apologized and offered to move to a different spot. But that didn't satisfy her. "That spot isn't good either," she told me. "You're blocking Sheila, right, Sheila?" But fortunately, Sheila wasn't having it. "You're fine," the woman told me, with a smile. "She's fine," she told her friend. It was a small gesture, but it made me feel I wasn't such an outcast. I never get that sense of isolation here at UUCP, my spiritual home. I feel welcomed and accepted. But I did have that outsider feeling in Robinson Lounge when I first joined more than 20 years ago. Now I always try to remember that and to seek out the visitor lurking on the sidelines. I also have learned many lessons as an advocate, along with my brothers, from my mother, who has dementia. My brothers and I have seen how a system intended to help those who can't help themselves can be indifferent and hostile. I've spent countless hours on the phone for my mother, to get her a wheelchair, to make sure she has physical therapy, and to insist on hiring the wonderful health aides we have today, among many other tasks. I cannot imagine how my mother would have fared without us being there, and yet I'm well aware that many people have no one to advocate for them. We live in a time when our government has turned away from the immigrant, the poor, the sick and disabled, our LGBTQ friends. We are in the midst of a terrible storm that most of us are observing from inside our warm homes. We need to worry about everyone who is caught in that storm and to do our best to offer the lost sheep and the rabbits among us shelter and to give help wherever we can. Thank you and happy Easter.
Once when I was a kid at church camp, I fell ill with some kind of rash. Several of us had it. It was splotchy, itchy, hot, and gross. We're not sure where we got it or exactly what it was from. It may have been from a weed or a plant. It could have been something in the reservoir that we swam in, maybe a bug infestation in our tents or sleeping bags. We were middle schoolers spending the summer running around in the woods, getting sweaty and grimy, and we were bitten by things all day long. Rashes were common, but this one was worse, and our whole little group had it. All 8 of us or so eventually lined up in the nurse's office, wherein she looked at the splotches, ruled out several common causes based on their appearance, and then surmised, I don't know what that is. Her response was the same, though. Calamine lotion, all around. But before that, the cleaning, for which she used a washcloth dipped in cool water that she would rub along the surface of the itchy areas on our backs and our shoulders. We could do our own legs, and did, but she would get the parts that we couldn't reach or see. And after a long night and endless breakfast of constant itchiness, there was perhaps no greater feeling in the world than that cool cloth being soothed upon the irritated skin. When the first kid was treated, he reacted with such relief that we were all in a hurry for the same experience. And we all received it as she took her time with each kid, using a new cloth with each of us, replacing the water each time, and taking her time to soothe this rash of unknown origin. I remember how sure and tender her hands were, and her voice, which was also calm and confident, her treatment of us matching some sort of inner gift of peace and assurance. It would turn out that our rash was just a rash. It went away. But in those moments of her caring, her gift of healing still heals to this day. Many of us have stories of these people in our lives, of nurses, for example, who treated us and then went on to treat others, and we recovered and went on to other things, but that time of healing remains healing. I would later come to see that nurse in the poem Shoulders by Naomi Shihab Nye, which reads, "A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him. No car drive too near his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say fragile, handle with care. His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him." And then Nye concludes her poem by saying, "We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling." The image in the poem is of a man and his son and a beautiful yet everyday act of caring in stormy weather. But Nye's teaching is that this is the image that we must all live into. And not only with our kids, and not only with all kids, but with everyone. We must all carry one another through the storms of these days. We must all be caring and carry one another, as did the camp nurse, as did the carrying dad, as did the shepherd in the parable that Jesus taught. This parable that is at the center of our Easter service is very short, and it's one of 3 that Jesus offers in response to religious officials sneering at him for spending so much time in the company of sinners. Jesus loved spending time with sinners. He traveled with them, he ate with them, he embraced them, he washed their feet. He preferred them, or us, if we're honest, to the company of the authorities and the officials. He tended to the sinners and tended to scorn the powerful, sometimes explicitly and sometimes by just not bowing down before them as they were accustomed to. Jesus loved the sinner, the struggler, the lost one who could be found by one who looked and sought and welcomed the return. In the three parables directed toward the officials who whined about him eating with sinners, a lost sheep is brought back by a good shepherd, a lost coin is found by a diligent woman, and a lost son returns home to a loving father, and a resentful brother who is taught to drop the resentment and celebrate the return. For resentment in the parable is small and stifling and forever encloses us in tighter and tighter circles of growing bitterness. But when one welcomes the lost having been found, one grows in joy and spirit. One's circle grows in joy and spirit. And one's ability to help the lost grows in joy and spirit. Seek the lost and celebrate the return is Jesus' teaching in these three rapid-fire parables aimed at the sour officials who seek distance from the sinner. Jesus taught instead to close that distance and to praise the union or the reunion with the lost and the found. The Good Shepherd in particular finds the lost sheep and doesn't just bring her back to the flock. The shepherd carries her back to the flock. Like the father in the poem, he picks her up over his shoulders, carrying her like a yoke or a scarf and bringing her back to the others. The sheep may have been lost because she was sick, had fallen behind and couldn't keep up. She may have fallen over and was unable to rise, a condition so common to sheep that there's a term, cast sheep, used for the animals who, for one reason or another, fall over and aren't able to get up on their own. A large part of the shepherd's job is to look out for these sheep because they'll die in the field if someone doesn't right them. Or maybe the sheep was lost because she got scared for some reason and hurried away. We don't know why the sheep in the story was lost, just that she was lost. And the shepherd goes out of his way to find her and carries her back on his shoulders, as did the parent in the poem. Jesus is talking to the elite who have high opinions of themselves and surround themselves with others who affirm those opinions. And he's elevating a shepherd, which was seen as a very lowly profession in those days. It was among the lowest. And their centrality here echoes their presence at his birth in that story, the one that we remembered about 4 months ago. Shepherds were among the first to herald the birth of the holy baby. That was a direct signal to the reader that this guy's message is not for the elite, but for the humble. It's a clear sign that what's coming is a gospel for the people and not the powerful. And he, as an adult, would reflect it in those with whom he ate and with whom he traveled and who featured in the stories that he told. He didn't answer the esteemed with a story about the esteemed. He answered with a story about a shepherd and taught them to go and do likewise. To be that shepherd who seeks the lost, finds them, and carries them home on his shoulders with care and patience. Be a shepherd who doesn't give up on people, but who instead seeks to comfort the afflicted and soothe the frightened, to heal the injured, and to bring the lost back home. These are the acts of a good shepherd, acts that can be offered regardless of pedigree or degree, of title or entitlement. These are some acts of faith that can be offered beyond belief, that reflect a holy source that is itself beyond all belief, beyond every structure ever made to contain or describe it. No faith has ever succeeded in containing the source of the love to which we look in creed or covenant or doctrine or sacrament, but we all reflect that same source when we act with love, with kindness, with a concern for the least of these. We are very different before that source in doctrine and tradition and a million other human inventions. But when it comes to holy deeds of service and care, created one after another that create a better world than there would otherwise be, we are one before that source of love. We are one then in a faith of service to that which serves all, beyond every division we construct. Those who today speak of faith but worship power, a power that denigrates the powerless, that kills the innocent, that creates war, that sneers at peace, a power to which the cowardly pay public homage and private wealth to try and bring it closer, are serving nothing like the God that Jesus served. They're creating nothing like the gospel that Jesus proclaimed. They're propping up the same sort of system that took his life later in this gospel and in all of the others. They're inverting his entire message of love and justice for political gain and financial power. For you can't hate people and follow Jesus. You can't marginalize everyone not like you and serve that prophet. You can't act like the world depends on you or the human you temporarily worship because of their position and be of that faith, which depends itself on only the love of God. You can't replace that ground of being with a human being, especially one of obvious and endless immorality. And to do so is to betray the teaching of that parable and every other one he told, in which the meek and the humble and the sinner and the outcast are treated with respect and dignity and as bearers of a holy light to be welcomed and cherished, never mocked, never attacked, never discarded. If you want to be a good human, Jesus teaches in that parable and throughout the gospel, be a good shepherd. Take care of your flock, whatever that is in your life. Offer them all that you can for their survival, and when one is in danger, try to bring them to safety. Carry them, if you must, in your heart or with your arms, in your spirit or on your shoulders, in prayer or with your body, that they might know that even when lost, there remains a place of welcome. While some arms will exclude them, there are other arms to embrace them. When they feel unloved and lost, there remains a loving place that will be of welcome and joy, that will provide comfort and safety, that will rejoice upon their return or their arrival. And that place is your heart and your life and the flocks that you tend. And none of this requires being of any particular faith. None of this needs a bodily resurrection. This good life of a good shepherd costs only the easy comfort of seeking power and privilege. It only costs a concern with prestige. It only asks for the kind of humility in which we can find ourselves by serving others. The only death it seeks is that part that we all have that wants to be above someone else. It costs a good bit of big egos, but it affords the world life and sustenance and greater peace. It affords us all a greater human spirit of love, washing all over everyone like a cool cloth on wounded skin. This good life roots us in the fields that we all share, where we all live, and where we all sometimes are lost and must be found. And hopefully that happens. Someone finds us and someone brings us in. It'll probably be by just another sinner with a growing heart who finds us, maybe one with nice, strong shoulders. It could be someone whom the powerful tell everyone to stay away from. That's who might find the lost. For that is who is blessed again and again in his parables and teachings. It's not those desperately trying to project power. It's those who humbly serve the least of these with the very most that they have. And that ethic always provides enough for everyone. May we live in that spirit and practice that ethic this Easter and always. May we seek the lost and welcome the found, and be, if not in our daily lives, a good shepherd, then a good enough and an always getting better shepherd each day and every day. May it be so, and amen. And we also thank Rebecca Nice-Perone for leading our hymns this morning and for that beautiful solo before the service. At the end of our hour, we extinguish our chalice, knowing that its light stays with us until we gather again. Go forth grateful for the moments before you, the breath within you, the people among you, and the Spirit guiding you toward lives of love and kindness. And go forth knowing that you are held always and always with everyone else by that great love of no beginning and never ending. Go in peace, and amen.